Well, guys, man, we got to talk about the infamous jersey rip that Geno Auriemma fails to acknowledge and fails to take accountability for, that he lied on national television at the end of the third quarter with his interview with Holly Rowe, basically saying that the South Carolina players was ripping Sarah Strong's jersey. But we got video evidence and we got proof, and we heard from the horse's mouth that she did that on her own account. You are now tuned into a brand new episode of the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. I'm your host and the man behind the mic, K Sap. Well, guys, we got to talk about it. The infamous jersey rip that Geno Auriemma is taking a lot of heat for, that he fails to realize and backtrack on his statements that he made to Holly Rowe, even in the press conference after it was confirmed by his own player that she did it on her own free will. And we're going to talk about it right after this. Well, guys, it seems like the statement that Geno Auriemma offered, the apology to the South Carolina basketball team and the coaching staff, without mentioning Dawn Staley, has took precedence over leading up to this national championship game between South Carolina and UCLA, because it still talks. It's still everything about Geno. And it seems like Geno took everything away from the buildup of the South Carolina and UCLA game, because everything is focused on him. He has been going viral. People are letting Geno have it. And Geno right now can't catch a break. And rightfully deserved, he shouldn't catch a break, because of his interview that he had with Holly Rowe at the end of the third quarter, when he talked about the South Carolina players was getting away with fouling. Dawn Staley was getting away with talking to the referees all crazy. South Carolina didn't get called for no fouls in that third quarter. And he said that the South Carolina players is out there ripping Sarah Strong's jersey and they not making no calls. But now we have video evidence that Sarah Strong did that on her own free will. And Geno Auriemma was at the post-game press conference, still standing 10 toes down on his statement. He won't backtrack, and he won't let people know that he was caught up in his emotions, caught up in his feelings, and he lied. I don't know the reason why he lied, just like he lied about saying Dawn Staley never shook his hand at the beginning of the game. Dawn Staley shook the whole coaching staff's hand at the beginning of the game. She even fist bumped everybody at the scores table, which led up to Geno Auriemma's meltdown at the end of the game between South Carolina and UConn, where South Carolina defeated UConn in the semifinals game leading up to the championship in the Final Four, 62-48, to stop Geno Auriemma's UConn Huskies from going undefeated going into the national championship and also getting a chance to defend their title. Now we have video evidence from Sarah Strong herself on her actions on ripping her jersey. Let's take a look at the events, how they unfolded, and then we're going to listen to what Sarah Strong said at the post-game press conference. Let's take a look. Look at that. Sarah, she ripped her own jersey after she missed a shot in the third quarter. She had to change out of that jersey. Had to don a number 55, not the number 21. She had to don 55. And let's listen to how she said at the post-game press conference on what happened.
Sarah, can you, Ms. Short from USA Today, Sarah, can you walk us through what happened there at the end of the third quarter with the jersey rip and then the jersey change?
It was an accident. I missed my shot. Ripped it by accident.
Now we heard what Sarah Strong had to say. And Geno Auriemma is not backing down. He refuses to acknowledge that he flat out lied. And Sarah Strong had to let him know that She did it on her own free will. She said it was an accident because she was visibly frustrated because she missed a shot at the end of the third quarter. And we saw the video evidence of her ripping her jersey. Now, this incident of Sarah Strong ripping her jersey has been making its rounds around the internet. A lot of people are really letting Geno Auriemma have it because he won't backtrack. Also, we produced a show about his suspect apology to Dawn Staley. That was no apology. That was an apology to the coaching staff and South Carolina team. It wasn't directed toward Dawn Staley. And then Dawn Staley clapped back and she said, look, she don't want no parts of it. She said she will address it when the time comes because she's focused on the national championship. And Geno did say in that statement that he didn't want this to overshadow what South Carolina did, but it seemed like that overshadowed that whole game because there's no really talks about how South Carolina executed and dominated UConn. Everything's talked about Geno Auriemma's apology, lack of apology, talking about the infamous jersey rip, talking about his meltdown on the floor. Because we've seen this, and I've told you guys, and I'm keep reiterating this. Everybody thinks it's okay that coaches go through things like this and they'll make up. He never made up with the late, great Pat Summitt. Pat Summitt had to take the third grade. Geno Auriemma never fixed that problem. And if you heard Dawn Staley say in her interview about the apology when she addressed it, she basically said she's laser focused. You know what I'm saying? She grew up in the projects of South Philly. She had a praying mom. So she don't want no distraction. She is focused on the task at hand. And see, this is what happens when you do things like this and you got a national championship game to be played and you're asking questions about an apology, you're asking questions about a jersey rip, and you're asking questions about Geno Auriemma's blow up. Now, we heard Seth Greenberg let Geno Auriemma have it. Also, we heard the legend herself, WNBA legend and Hall of Famer Lisa Leslie, went in on Geno Auriemma, telling that he needs to offer an apology. And I guess when he saw that, he offered an apology, a written statement, which I don't think was apology. That's why I say apology rejected. But Dawn Staley and them, they're focused on this national championship game. That game is about to tip off. And the crazy thing about it is everything is talks around Geno. Geno is not in the national championship game. Let's put the focus on South Carolina and UCLA. But I wanted to talk about it because this is going viral. This is headlines. This is every time you open up a article, it's Geno. Geno gets the headlines. There's no headlines about this national championship game. What Dawn Staley's trying to achieve. 4 national championships. That's something that we should be talking about. But the headlines is out there with Geno taking over the headlines. But this is the last that I want to say about it because I just wanted to let you guys know that Geno, he's a sore loser. He couldn't take the fact that Dawn Staley, African-American, Black woman, head coach, took you down and you couldn't go out gracefully. You had to make a scene. You had to have an on-court tantrum so you can take the headlines. But we'll see. We'll see what this comes of it. We'll see if Geno reaches out to her personally and, extinguishes this fire. But if I'm Dawn Staley, I would just move on. I wouldn't worry about it. I would let it lie where it's lied. Because at this time, Geno has been lying all along, and he's been caught red-handed in his video evidence that shows that Sarah Strong ripped her own jersey. And then Sarah Strong backed it up by saying she did it. And Geno said he's not taking no statement back that he said to Holly Rowe at the end of the third quarter. I see everybody in the comment section, #salute. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, turn your post notifications on so you know every time Simply Ball drops another hot banger. Oh yeah, just in case I forgot. Tell a friend to tell a friend. It might not be for you, but it might be for them. And this is going to wrap up another episode of the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. I'm your host and the man behind the mic, K-Sap. Catch you on the next one. Deuces.
Thanks for listening to the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share on all major platforms.
That's all, folks.